This is the new ShoreThing. It turns your Kontiki rig into something similar to a dropper rig, in that it actually sets your hooks away from your main line. That way, if there's any sharks in the area, if you get your hook section snagged, or if there's any weed, you actually minimize any risk of losing the Kontiki. And that's because anything that happens to the hook section is happening away from the main line.
There is no two ways about it. Kontiki fishing can be a very productive way of catching good fish from the beach. The downside is, not all fish are good. Sharks just love long lines, and not only will they be interested in the baits, sharks are highly attracted to any fish you catch, and even a small shark can sever your main line. Hundreds of Kontiki longlines have been lost over the years to sharks, and this is because of the placement of the hook section in the middle of the main line. If the hook section is cut or broken, the Kontiki is lost.
The way the ShoreThing works is it floats on the surface, it's got a set of weights on the bottom and a timer at the front. The weights are connected to the line that's on the reel. Once the timer runs out, it lets the weights go, they drop away, and that pulls all the line off this reel. And the line that's on this reel is a 25 hook section, and that's followed by a 35 metre leader section.
The weights shown here are a bit different to what we're using today, but the action is the same. As soon as the timer reaches the release point, the ShoreThing swings into action. The big weight is deployed, and this initiates the setting of the hook section. In over 100 trial sets, we have always achieved a successful deployment of the hook section and leader line. The ShoreThing trailer protects your Kontiki by changing it from a long line into a dropper rig. The 65 kg hook section and all your bait and any struggling fish you catch are well away from the main line when the gear is set. Even if you snag your hook section, the 65 kg drop line will break well before any well-maintained 100 to 150 kg mainline is put at risk. So again, your Kontiki is able to be safely recovered, and you can only lose the snagged part of your hook section.
To get ready to go fishing, you just release the clip here, pull the pin out, this pulls out evenly, and here's the reel. You'll notice it's slotted on both sides. The way that we've designed the reel, it can take either curved hooks, like with an offset angle, or straight Kainawa hooks. It'll take hook sizes from 4-bar-0 up to 6-bar-0 in the recurve type hooks, or up to 18R Kainawas if you're using the old Jap hooks. You'll also notice that on this line there's a series of lead weights. The way that we've set it up is that every 7 hooks there's 8 3/4 ounce weights, and that just helps get the gear down to the bottom and keep it there. One of the really good things about the ShoreThing system is the amount of weight you can carry. 48 ounces here, another 30 or 40 ounces on the reel. That's 70 to 80 ounces of weight. That's unthinkable with a conventional Kontiki. And surprisingly, with all this weight, the ShoreThing only takes 1.4 kilograms of drag to move it, whereas if you're setting it conventionally, it takes 3.5 to 4 kilograms to drag your baited hooks through the surf.
We've completed extensive sea trials to measure the drag of the baited and weighted ShoreThing versus a baited and weighted conventional Kontiki hook section and leader. Most Kontikis average 2 to 3 knots setting speed, so focus on the area below 5 knots on the graph. Note the ShoreThing has around half the drag of a conventional Kontiki system at speeds up to 3 knots, even though it's carrying more than twice as much weight.
So all of this adds up to quite some efficiency gains. You've got your hooks are being deployed only 20 feet behind the Kontiki instead of 150 metres behind the Kontiki. So instantly you've got 150 metres in benefit to how far out you're going to set the hooks. The other thing is that when it goes out, it's light in the front, heavy at the back. So it goes out really easily. It's actually got less drag than a conventional hook section. Once the weights have gone, it's then stern heavy so that it's easier to tow back. The float at the back is in case it actually rolls over, it will self-right. If when it's setting it does do a complete rotation, it actually doesn't matter. The weights won't displace, everything stays in place, and it will always come back up the right way before it sets. Okay, well I've cut up the bait and it's just a matter of sticking it on the hooks. It's pretty easy to do. You just roll the hook back, put your bait on, put it through the flesh first. Always tuck the hooks back in so that they're nice and solid. These are average size baits that we're putting on here. You can make them quite a bit bigger and we'll do that on the next set. If you're using fish baits like mullet, make sure you scale them first, and that'll improve your catch rate, because often if you don't scale it you'll get scales wedged over the point of the hook and that will reduce your efficiency. That's one side done. Pop the cowling on, flip it over. Baiting's a really simple chore on these. Certainly no more difficult than baiting up a trace rack. So this is exactly one medium-sized mullet that we've used, so I had to cut a couple of the baits in half. That's what the small ones are about, just to save having to cut up another fish. So then we just pop the top cowling on. The cowlings keep the bait in place and guide the line as it comes out, so there's no chance of any tangles or misfires. The hooks can't cross over each other. When you put the cowling in, just imagine it's a wheel running along the bottom. If it runs that way, it's actually unwinding the line. So I'm going to turn it that way because that's the way it'll want to rotate in the water, and that means all that force is just trying to wind the line on, which obviously it can't do, so nothing can come unwound or out of place at the wrong time. So now we're ready to put the weights on. It's important when you put the weights onto the ShoreThing that the bulk of the weight goes to the back. That keeps the stern down during setting. There's a long pin for it to fit over. Run the line up in between the reels. Then put the loop over the timer flap. Bring it up, and now we're ready to set the timer. These timers are the same as a clock face. Half a turn will give you half an hour. Quarter of a turn will give you a quarter of an hour. And we're trying to go about 1,000 metres out, so we're going to give it a quarter of an hour for this first set and see how we get on. If we don't do as well as we expect, then we can either put it out further or less distance, depending whether we get sharks or no fish. And then we're ready to clip the main line on. Clip the main line, the hook section main line onto the weights, roll it up, and that's it, we're ready to go. So now we're ready to set. We just need to do a final check, make sure that everything is securely connected fore and aft, that the Kontiki is securely connected, that the timer is set to the same time that the Kontiki is set to, and very importantly, make sure that the end of your hook section is connected to the weights. That's it, we're ready to rock and roll.